What's going on, everybody? Mark 389 here, back at it again with another video. Right here we have the Traxass Nitro Tech 3.3. This is my cousin's vehicle and he wanted me to clean it up a little bit, so I'm just gonna pull the motor out, nothing too serious. Probably gonna swap out his fuel lines, that way he got some nice fresh fuel lines on it. Last time he ran this was a couple years ago. Fuel tank is all gunked up. Can't really see in there, you can see a little bit, so I'm gonna throw some fuel in there, clean it up a little bit. But I want to take the motor out, brush it down, clean up under it, make sure that it's not spewing oil everywhere, which it actually looks pretty fine. I just want to clean it up. I got a new air filter for him. I'm gonna pop up there, and hopefully tomorrow we can get this thing checked out and test it out and give it back to him, so that way I can get back to my RS4. All right, so we're just gonna go together, do a little overview of what we need to do. So first things first, I want to start with the exhaust. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off the screw that's right here at the top of it. It's going to be a 2.5 hex, and then we're going to get to the fuel line and just take off the fuel line. The fuel line is going to be routed around back. Let me move the car forward so you can get a little bit of light back there. Okay, so you can see the fuel line going right there, and all I have to do is just pop that right off. I'm going to do that off camera. I just want to point to you guys what needs to be done. You also are going to want to take off these two plugs here to detach the motor, and then take off the plug from in here. All right, so taking it off the stand so we can get a better view. I already disconnected the fuel line. You have that one cable going there, so we're going to have to remove that motor mount screw to get that cable off. And also we're going to have to take off the turnbuckle for the throttle here, so that way we can get that removed as well. So as you can see, to get this one screw out is kind of a pain, and that's one of the reasons why I say get yourself an assortment of tools. So now, even though that this hex actually removed the bolt because it was pretty loose, it's actually a 2.5 as well. I'd advise that you get a ball screw hex, so that way you can hit these on an angle. As you can see, this one here, I may be able to get it off, but it's going to be tough, and you don't want to round those out, because if you round these out, that's going to be a total pain, to try and get that out. So there's one little tip there. Here's another one, going back to the fuel line and fuel flow from my last video. So this was the end that was connected to the carburetor, and down here is where your fuel tank is. It's actually right there. Give me 1 second. The line flows somewhere down here. Sorry for the wild camera angles. Anyways, so as you can see, this fuel filter, the top is down here, and I believe that this one is flowing backwards as well. So I'll pull this off in a second and I'll show you if this one was flowing backwards as well. All right, here's another simple tip here. Instead of just pulling all your wire and grabbing your wire hair and eventually ripping the wire hair and having to put some heat shrink over here, get yourself a nice set of needle nose pliers and grab down here at the base. Try to grab as low as you possible so you don't rip it here as well. So I'm gonna have to grab some heat shrink and throw it up there to clean that up. But that's just another little tip there. So you would grab your needle nose and try to grab it down as low as you can, and just wiggle it and pull out, and it should come right out, no problems. And here we go here. After pulling your two wires off of your motor, top one is a positive, bottom one is a negative. You can pull them off with some pliers as well. You just got to grab them firmly and just wiggle them right off. The whole harness just folds out to the back, so you can wipe that down a little bit later. Now you can focus on the turnbuckle for the throttle. Pop that off, and then you should be able to flip the car over, and I think it's 5 bolts on the bottom. All right, so here should be a quick recap of what we just did. We took off the throttle body arm, we took off the fuel line over here, then we took off the screw over here for the exhaust, and then the two positive and negative here, and then don't forget down here you had that one bolt for the yellow wire. I'm guessing that's a ground. And then let's just flip the car over and see what screws on the bottom we have to remove, and if we have to remove anything else. All right, so down here at the bottom we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I believe there's one little screw here. So these 4 here are going to be 2.5s as well, and this one back here is going to be a 2. So a 2 hex, and then these 4 here are 2.5 hex. By the way, these screws might be Loctite in from factory or from the previous owner, depending on where you get your vehicle from. So make sure you take your driver and you get it flush in there, and you don't have it on an angle at all, so you don't round out that hex in there, because these are pretty tight here. All right, so after you get those screws out, apparently I think this screw also goes to the motor mount. Looks like this is a part of the motor mount here. It goes to this screw here, so take out this screw as well, and we'll figure out what other screws we need to take out also. And don't forget to take note of the size of your 2 smaller screws. This is the rear screw, so the rear screw would go back here, that's the longer one, and the shorter one would go up here. So take note, the longer one in the back, the shorter one in the front. All right, so this is coming to be a little more challenging than I thought it would be. So we had to remove the exhaust. It just pulls straight off, so that comes right out, and you can get a nice little view over there. Sorry if the lighting isn't too good, and let me figure out what else it takes to get this motor out. All right, there we go. So the motor's out. Got a motor over there on the stand. You can see the chassis, how filthy it is. The motor was a pain to get out. It was those screws, so it was nothing extra. The only thing you have to fight around is getting around your receiver box, and the motor just pulls right out. You have to wiggle it as you pull it out, you know, just to get it out, because it's a pretty much tight fit. When you go back to putting it in, the motor mount goes under here. That's why you have that long screw that goes into there, and then your 4 screws here. But if you look at the bottom, it's going to be pretty much marked where it needs to be, so your mesh is going to be pretty perfect. And like I said, the one screw, the long screw that goes here, and then the screw that, sorry about the blurriness, the screw that goes here, the shorter one that goes in the front, those are going to pretty much line up your mesh, and your mesh is going to be perfect in this vehicle as long as your chassis is straight. So let me clean this up, and then I'll get it back together. All right guys, so the car is pretty much a pain to take apart and clean up, and I'm guessing that's why there's not many videos of anyone doing anything to this vehicle besides running it. So right now I'm just trying to remove the gas tank, and what I did here is, give me 1 second, sorry for my finger being in the way. Okay, so I'm gonna remove the servo screw here, then I removed 2 screws here. The servo screw is a 2.5 hex, and then these are 2s. These are gonna have a round head on them. Put those back. Okay, so those go there, and then your servo screw is gonna look like the other ones. The only reason you remove this one is because it's, 1 second, sorry about that. One reason you remove that is because it's sitting right on top of this plate, and you need this plate to lift up so you can access the gas tank. And we're not totally there yet, so let me just finish up, and then I'll let you know exactly what I had to do. But for now, it was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are also 2mm hex. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then over here we have 6, 7, 8, and I might as well take out the receiver box screw as well, and maybe the antenna. So I'll let you know in a second. All right, so now to remove the gas tank, you have to circle around to the bottom and remove these 2 screws here. And what that's gonna do is allow you to remove this plate, hopefully. And after you remove this plate, the gas tank should come out. As you can see, I got it out. I was hoping I could slide it out and lift it up and pull it out, but Traxass isn't making it easy on me, so I had to remove the screws I told you about, remove the 1 screw here for the receiver box, and then you flip it at the bottom, and then it's just, sorry, these 2 here, and then hopefully that plate comes out. So let's see. Okay, so you don't have to remove both of these bottom screws, just the rear one will do. And then you get the swinging door effect. And after you get the swinging door effect and you have all the top screws out, like I said, this lifts up just enough to where you can slide the gas tank back, turn it, and then pull it out, and then tip it up. And then you can see all that gunky gas and how nasty this gas tank is. This car is not too bad to work on, but it's nothing like my RS4 3. So let me get this cleaned up, and then let me get the engine cleaned up. Sorry for the blur. Let me get the engine cleaned up after that, and get a few things buttoned up, and I'll start getting this thing back together. All right, so this is one of the main, most important things you want to do is clean out this fuel tank. I use 91% alcohol in here, and I just looped the exhaust and the gas line. I just took one line, looped them together, shake up the tank. Actually, you can see how clean the inside is getting already. So that's working out. So give it a nice little shake, wipe down the outside of it. Make sure you wipe down the car. Let me give you a quick little view of it. Sorry about the lighting. Lighting kind of sucks, but you know, it came out pretty good. So if you do this method, you can actually obviously take off a little more, a little less, whatever you believe you need to take off to clean off whatever you need. And I say you would be able to clean about 75% of this vehicle and do some pretty decent maintenance to it. But if you want to do some real maintenance and cleaning and, you know, clean this thing 100%, you know, this is going to be not a challenge, but it's going to take a little while to clean this up. So let me finish cleaning up the tank, then I got to brush down the motor, and then I'll get back to putting it together. All right, so I dumped out my first tank of alcohol, and this is my second tank, and you can actually see how much clearer it is. I'm just going to do 2 tanks in this car, because that's actually pretty good. Doesn't seem too bad here. So I'm gonna dump this out and call it a day. The reason I use alcohol is because it evaporates pretty fast. So I'm gonna just leave this cracked open, let it evaporate, and by tomorrow I should be ready to run. You should be ready to run within the next 30 minutes if you leave this cracked open, you know, to ventilate. All the alcohol will just evaporate right out of here, no issues. So that's the reason I use that. Anyways, let me dump this, and then I'll get back to the engine. All right, now we're basically just going in reverse order, popping the gas tank back in, closing the hinge door right there, put in your 2 screws here, and then you work on your top screws, and do not forget to put your servo screw back in. All right, so I'm just about there. So when I was getting there, just remember to put your fuel line in first, because this motor is gonna block that. So put your fuel line in and then route it behind here, wherever it needs to go. And then after your fuel line is in, it's gonna go in between your throttle arm and then your motor. So you're just gonna have to squeeze it in. So my suggestion is push it down. That way you get some slack and you don't pull it back off of the nipple, and then just tuck it right in between the two. And then continue sliding in your motor as usual, or sliding in your engine as usual. Also, while sliding the engine in, watch out with the flywheel and the brake there. You're gonna have to kind of tip the engine that way to get it into place, and then after you can figure everything else out about your gear mesh. So go to the bottom and start popping in your screws. Don't tighten them all the way. And remember to use Loctite on your motors or your engine screws. Your engine does vibrate a lot, and you do not want those screws vibrating out while you are riding. All right, everything else is back in, lined up. We didn't set the gear mesh yet. Right now, you're just gonna start grabbing your screws. You can start with any screw you want. I'm gonna start with a motor mount screw. I'm not gonna record me putting them all in. Just remember that you have the longer screw back here and the shorter one up here. All right, guys, so I'm gonna just call it an end there. Only thing I gotta do is put back on the exhaust. The engine is already in. The mesh is pretty much set. I'm gonna change the fuel filter, air filter on my own. I'm gonna mock up these hoses. Actually, there was one thing I did want to check with you guys, and I'll get back to you towards the end. Give me a minute. All right, guys, that's about it. It's getting late here, so I'm gonna have to call it a day. The only thing I have left to do is get a fuel filter. I ran the fuel line in between everything and off down in there, and as soon as it passes down there, it goes straight into the gas tank. So here's the nipple here. This line is not going to be this long. I just left it like that so I can have room to play with, but it's going to wrap around somewhere, and then I'm going to have like a inline fuel filter here. So it'll come out of the gas tank, come around, and then straight into the carburetor. Got the new air filter on. Gas tank is looking really good. I got the pressure line going straight through the easy line, and then it goes there, and then it curves and it's plugged in somewhere around here. So I got the lines pretty short, so they go basically pressure line to the exhaust right there, and then as soon as it comes out of the gas tank here, it's gonna come right out here, and then I gotta figure out how to loop it around as short as possible so that we can have the shortest route straight into the carburetor. Sorry about covering that. That's about it, guys. Not much else I can say about this vehicle. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. We do what we gotta do is burn nitro. Go out there, have fun, keep burning as much nitro as you can. Just do what you gotta do, guys. Take it easy.